Dear audience, welcome to the show POWERchat. In today's episode, we'll be discussing on post-disaster needs with particular focus on recently established post-flood reconstruction and rehabilitation unit and its activities. Joining us today is Dr. Suman Kumar Karna, Chief at the newly constructed unit by the government of Nepal. Please allow me to welcome him. Welcome to the show, Dr. Karna.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I'm doing good, and thank you to come back again here.
Well, could you tell us what made you establish this unit? There is a separate National Reconstruction Authority working on the issues related to disaster, post-disaster recovery issues. Why did government establish the unit called Post-Flood Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Unit?
Okay, let me clarify. This is a unit, but it is more of a project. Yeah, and it is established because we all know of the recent flood in Tarai, which was in August 11 to 14, a very and serious rain, which caused a huge damage, loss, and impact on almost 35 districts of out of 76 districts of Nepal. Although we have later categorized 18 districts as a severely hit district. Now this unit or a project is created because the impact is very serious. The losses is huge, and suffering of people on the ground, the number of people displaced, the people lost houses is substantial. So it gave a very clear indication that we need something special to deal with this situation. So this special program is established, though it is housed inside the NRA, but I think I must clarify it that it is largely independent and autonomous. And it's also because if you see the outreach, the geographic location where this project will be concentrating its activities is in Tarai. So it's 18 districts in Tarai. The nature of disaster is also different, that is flood. So let us not confuse that it's a kind of duplication to NRA or something like that. But yes, it is housed inside the NRA because NRA is institution particularly established to deal with earthquake, post-earthquake recovery program.
So you mean this is an independent program implemented by the government of Nepal?
Yes, it is.
How do you work with the existing institutions like NRA and National Planning Commission and other institutions that may be interested to work with you in flood affected area?
Yeah, very true. As you understand, disaster is a cross-cutting issue. The impact is not limited to one ministry or one department or one institution. The recently concluded post-flood recovery needs assessment clearly indicates that there are 9 different sectors which are hugely impacted. Okay.
So you have on hand the assessment.
Yes,
we tell us more on the assessment
definitely
recently carried out.
Fortunately, soon after the flood, NPC was kind enough to initiate this process of preparing an assessment report, and because they also had the similar experience during earthquake, where they led this post-disaster need assessment after the Gorkha earthquake. So they have a very good experience. They utilize those experiences and knowledge and formed a small team, including representatives from different ministries and departments, and they got technical support from UNDP and World Bank, and they started working on it. And recently they have come out with the final report, which is now in the published form. We have started sharing it with different partners and stakeholders, and this gives us a complete overview of the situation on the ground.
Could you also tell us about the recently assessed report, which is known as the Flood Recovery Needs Assessment, carried out to set out the working procedures and the future recovery plans within this unit?
Yes. I mean, I must say thank you to National Planning Commission, because as you understand and as you know, this assessment exercise was led by National Planning Commission, and it was started soon after the flood. So they were kind enough not to wait. They engaged people from different ministries, particularly 9 different sectors which are heavily impacted by this flood, and they received technical assistance from World Bank and UNDP. So they collectively worked on this for about 2 months, and they prepared, and now it is published and also shared with different partners and stakeholders. So
what are the key indicators within?
Okay, now this document, this assessment report is a kind of a basic document for us. It gives a good overview of the situation on the ground, particularly from loss and damage perspective. It had estimated at this moment around $800 million recovery needs in 9 different sectors. Shelter is one of the prime sector which covers around 50% of the total recovery cost, whereby around 50,000 permanent houses are, 50,000 houses are permanently damaged or fully damaged, whereby around another 200,000 or plus are partially damaged. And it followed by like irrigation, which covers 25% of the total recovery cost, and then we have livestock, water and sanitation, electricity, energy, and few others. So altogether there are 9 sectors which are found substantially impacted and need a special intervention to bring it to its original state.
Could you also tell us about the short-term and long-term needs of establishing such units or such program?
Yeah, as we all know, normally we don't get government attention unless there is a huge scale of disaster. Like what happened 2 years back. We have disasters almost every year or in every few years, but it's only first time when this big earthquake happened in 2015 that we formed this National Reconstruction Authority and trying to address systematically the recovery needs of that earthquake. Now this is probably the first time where we are trying to give a systematic addressing or a proper scientific approach to recovery needs of disaster which is of medium scale, and if you look at the recent discourse of post-disaster situation in different countries, these small and medium scale disasters are equally important because their recurring period is very fast. They come in every 2-3 years like floods in Tarai, and they make a reasonably good impact on the existing infrastructure and services. So if you collectively look at of past 10 years, 20 years, the overall damage or losses or impact on infrastructure, services, housing. So I think this is a good step of the government who has taken this initiative, formed a separate dedicated project and got this assessment done, and now allocating budget accordingly to address these special needs caused by the recent flood in Tarai.
Well, Dr. Karna, disasters of such kind often challenge the productive sector of the people living within that area, including that of the livestock or irrigations or day-to-day needs of the people. How are you planning to address the immediate needs of the people affected by flood in 18 districts especially?
I think, we all are aware by now, especially we saw in how things unfolds in earthquake. There are different phases of disaster management, we start with emergency response. We also call it humanitarian response or life-saving support, which we go immediately after any disaster, and try to save lives, try to bring out from serious vulnerable situation, and then slowly, once they they are saved, once they have moved to reasonable place, then we start planning for their recovery. Within the recovery planning also there is a phase called early recovery, because we have seen from earthquake also, and this has been a proven fact and experience in different parts of the world, that there is always a gap between emergency support and a full-fledged recovery program. And that's the period where these affected communities or people who are who are hurt in the disaster are left out, or they feel no presence of the government or of any kind of support. So for that period also we have requested government to come up with some kind of package. We call it relief package, which we are going to distribute very soon in a week in all 18 districts, because we know our recovery program will take a bit of time to go to the field, because we need to do some homework. We need to prepare some foundational ground before we go with long-term recovery program that is also envisioned by the assessment report. So there are different phases, So we are moving to early recovery phase, where we are going with some support to all 18 districts, particularly targeted to those who have lost their houses completely, doesn't have anything to live. So we want to give them some support so that they can somehow continue their living in a reasonable, decent way till the recovery program comes, and also manage this winter, this severe winter in Tarai, so that there won't be another disaster because of this winter and already impact of flood that they faced.
Do you have the data about the people affected by this?
Yeah, this assessment report has exactly done the same thing. I mean, it has brought all the information and put it together. I mean, if you look at from fully damaged houses, those who doesn't have anything and lost everything is around 50,000 households. And similarly, partial damaged houses is another 200,000 plus. We are trying to verify the data. There may be some plus and minus, but largely it is what I said just now. So we are taking into consideration of all the information that we have gathered through this assessment report, and we will definitely verify it because it was done in little quick way, and obviously there are some more details coming with the passage of time. So once we verify, confirm it, then we actually move to the ground and try to address those problems that they have encountered because of this flood.
What is your preparation for the infrastructure sector within these districts?
No, as I said, I mean, this program, although it is housed inside the NRA, it is autonomous and independent. So we had this responsibility to formulate our own operational guideline, which we just have completed, and we are in the process of getting a cabinet approval on that. So once we have that, that will serve us as a kind of legal document, which has all the elements of operational modality, you can say. It gives us a complete organogram, the full architecture of this program, starting from central level office to field level, and our implementation focus is definitely taking local government into the whole process, putting them at the driving seat, at the center of implementation. So we will only be playing a role of facilitation. We will help them to mobilize resources, bring knowledge, technology and all that, but we will allow local governments to lead the whole process in support of other line ministries, departments, and other stakeholders, including private sector, civil society, and so on. Now, when it comes to addressing the infrastructure losses needs, again, local government will play a lead role, but then the sectoral ministries and departments will have a very prominent role there, because the technical knowledge, expertise are with them, not yet with the local government. And as we know, many of the local governments are newly formed, so they are still comparatively weak in terms of technical know-how, knowledge, resources, and so on. So they will be working very closely with the line ministries and departments, and take up the infrastructure projects accordingly.
Well, often there is criticism that the newly established recovery or disaster related institutions, or say that of any subject or issue, they spend more time on preparing their own working procedures and not reaching out to the victims affected by such disasters. How are you planning to transform or translate this assessment into a very concrete working plan?
I agree with what you said, and this we have to some extent experience in our earthquake program. One big advantage with me is that I have worked almost 2 years at NRA, closely observing all the ups and downs, the kind of decisions we have taken.
Are you bringing your learning from NRA
yes,
to this?
Definitely, and
project?
Especially the positive learning.
How?
Because I worked there 2 years. I have seen from a very close eye, experienced all the activities, decisions that we have been taking and had taken. So we understand that it is very important that you quickly hit to the ground, and realizing that we are working on two-prong approach. One is definitely you need to have a basic minimum system in place before you take activities on the ground. You can't implement projects overnight. You need to do some preparation. So what we are trying there as itself is to be little smart. Use a method which is quick and suits to post-disaster environment. But at the same time, we are equally concerned not to miss the field. So I myself already reached to the field, had an interaction with them, and told them that what is this project all about, how we are going to execute it, what will be their role, and what they should expect from this project. So we are careful on this, that we don't want to do the preparation, keeping our door closed for another 6 months and then suddenly reach to the field. No, we are not going to do that. We will take both the activities simultaneously, and we know that there are many things which you can do on the ground, even when you are doing your preparational activities or foundational activities, because we need to orient our people there. We need to make them aware. We need to give them lots of training. We need to convince them. We need to motivate them. We need to educate them how they will be playing their part when it comes to housing construction.
Do you think that this project or program will be able to do these all things within a short time?
Yes.
How do you planning to allocate resources or mobilize resources, partnering with the different stakeholders? Very quickly, we are coming to the end of the show.
Yeah, as I said, we are careful. We are trying to make a simultaneous progress on different fronts, and if the government gives us good support, I think there is no reason we will not make it, because the scale is very reasonable.
What sort of support you are expecting from the government and other possible partners?
There are two main supports. One is fund, that we need on time, and one is obviously to some extent the human resources, because we cannot have all the resources from the market. So we need some core team from the government side. So if we have that two in place on time, I think it won't take much effort to complete the job as we have envisioned or planned. And as I said, we have a good learning from recent earthquake program, and the scale is reasonable, and we can make a quick move to the ground, focus on delivery, engage local government, because another big advantage is that now we have full-fledged local government on the ground, so we can quickly empower them a little bit, orient them, and put them on the driving seat to lead this whole process. So it won't be so difficult, provided we fix few things and move systematically, does not complicate it too much, and keep it simple.
Well, Dr. Karna, it was pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for calling me.
Dear audience, time now to wrap up the show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.